Hey all, GameBrain here, and I'll try to keep this video short, but the past 48 hours have had three very important discoveries for RWBY Grimm Eclipse, both from a code perspective, in relation to modding and the future of modding in the scene, as well as regarding an old favorite glitch in the Weiss rocket. So I'll structure this video by going through three categories. I will talk about the mod-related information first, including the game's structure, and then I will talk about Weiss Rocket, as there's not too much information to say yet, but it needs to be talked about. As some of you may know, a friend and myself have been working on a project in terms of making 16 players mod accessible again. After talking with some experts in C#, it was determined that simply working to gain access to the GVK mod and edit it is just not as effective as starting from scratch. We decided to go with Beppin EX as a means of creating a mod for the game, so we managed to configure Beppin EX for Grimm Eclipse. This is where my friend comes in. Some of you may be familiar with him, but he's not a notable player in the community by any means. He's someone who prefers to play more casually, but has been a big help in setting this up. His name is Pang. You can also pronounce it P-Pang. And he's just a good friend in my life and has really helped set this project up, so I wanted to give him a huge shout out in this video, since he's not someone who frequents the Discords, but nevertheless. So, Pang and myself, after setting up Beppin, we looked into a few game files in the assembly to determine if there was some way to work with max players. And while we were testing and creating mods, at least sample mods to attempt to influence the max player value, we came upon a very important discovery. Variables like God mode, one-hit kills, and similar features, even camera angles, offered in GVK's mod, and at least enable and customizable in GVK's mod, are actually something that is found within the game's code. That means all GVK's mod does is activate a trigger that enables these features. I'll probably have a screenshot or something like that on the screen right now talking about this, but this is incredibly important, since it means it's very reasonable to recreate a significant amount of the features offered in GVK's mod without having to modify it, and just by starting from scratch and making it compatible with Beppin EX. This is especially relevant because if the game version gets updated in any way, we basically lose access to GVK's mod. And while this wasn't really a significant talking point until 2 weeks ago, with the release of Special Edition on the Google Play Store, this created a highlight of us needing to worry about this, because if that Google Play 2.0 patch ships to Steam, we lose access to GVK. So this discovery means that we can successfully work on creating this unique and distinct mod. Right now, we don't have plans to create an identical copy of GVK's mod. However, if the need arises, this is possible. Just to test that we could successfully modify the game, we created a copy of the God mode feature from GVK without using GVK. If possible, I will display that on the screen right now, at least me using the mod, and showing my main menu to show that I am not using GVK, including the settings. However, this mod will not be distributed publicly, as we do not have the constraints GVK mod has, meaning it can be used online, and to avoid malicious use of this feature, we will not be distributing it. Furthermore, we successfully made some advancements towards player lobbies. In terms of changing the number of players, we were successfully able to lower it. Once again, I will attempt to put screenshots on the screen, but what we were able to do is create a lobby that has up to 2 players, and once those 2 players are in, if the third player attempts to join, the game does not let them. So we were able to go below the number 4. We were also able to create a lobby that allows more than 5 players in theory. That means if a 5th player or more attempts to join, they are able to attempt to join. Regularly in Grimm Eclipse, if a lobby is 4 out of 4 and is full in your friends list, you cannot attempt to join it. But with our changes, someone was able to attempt to join it. However, right now, we are still fixing various debug issues, and this is not something that can go public yet, and many times when the last player joins, it crashes. We have not been able to create a stable version of the mod where the 5th player can currently join and actually play with the other 4 players, but I wanted to include this in the update since we're talking about anything else that has been succeeded. I believe this is the first time since GVK released this mod that a mod has been available for the game without relying on GVK's infrastructure to work, especially one that can manipulate player numbers, even though right now it's not beneficial to have less than 4 players. However, it's something that could be used in a 2-player speedrun, of course. 1-player lobbies could also be used in single-player speedruns for Horde and Grimm Gauntlet, so those are very, very big advancements, and we will likely be releasing some version of these mods shortly. This is not a distribution of any game files or copyrighted assets. This is just a plugin for legal purposes that works with BepNEX and changes whether or not someone can join your lobby. Furthermore, this is player side, so only 1 player needs this mod. It only affects their game if they choose to use it, and it does not in any way influence other players' games. So just wanted to put the updates regarding the game's code, the structure of the game. There's a full list of variables in the community Discord that can be edited, but practically it's very interesting to see this update on the GVK mod and how a big part of the mod is enabling and disabling different variables instead of actually adding them into the game. It's pure speculation if Skilltacular added these for GVK. I know they worked together in the mod, and Skilltacular is credited on the mod. However, it could also just be debug tools the devs were using themselves while working on the game. It would be amazing if I could get to talk to a dev about it, but unlikely that that's going to happen. Nevertheless, moving on. In the midst of working on these different features and creating multiple multiplayer lobbies in private to test them with Pong, I ended up playing Weiss in one of the games randomly. As some of you may know, I'm currently away from my main station for work, and I am using my work laptop. And this game cannot run Grimm Eclipse well. This device cannot run Grimm Eclipse well. So I have pretty low FPS, which is a setting I'm not used to playing on. And I was averaging around 40 FPS. And just for fun, I attempted to do the Weiss rocket trick. As many of you know, Weiss rocket used to be easier to do in older versions of Grimm Eclipse, and in modern versions of Grimm Eclipse, it is only doable with very low FPS, at least consistently, and to gain meaningful height. The lower FPS, the higher the height you can gain. The more FPS, the less height you gain from it. However, very interestingly, at 40 FPS, I was able to do a Weiss rocket that launched me significantly higher, and when retested was enough to reach the height of a stage 5 doorway. This needs further testing, but it's very interesting since I don't think Weiss rocket was seriously experimented with in the newest version of the game, which is the version that introduced the bug for Grimm Gauntlet. So I'm not sure if something has changed. I'm not sure if there's some other settings outside FPS that influence Weiss rocket, perhaps the quality of the game and the system you're running it on, how much the game can handle. But this opens potentially new speedrunning potential, because in no way was I modifying my FPS with an external tool. The FPS was at a steady 40 from potato mode actually, which is even more than some regular potato mode can run depending on your screen's hertz. So there's potential there. If your screen is perhaps low enough hertz to run at even 30 FPS, and this can be replicated well, there's a chance that Weiss rocket could return to speedrunning without any external FPS manipulation. So we'll have to wait and see. More experimentation will be done, and I wanted to bring this to everyone's attention that Weiss rocket is potentially back. Okay, everyone. A lot of developments happened. To quickly summarize, we had information in the game data being found that revealed that certain tools from the GVK mod were actually already accessible this whole time, and how the GVK mod functions is just simply enabling those toggles. There was progress made at finally altering player numbers for the first time in around 3.5 to 4 years. We can now change player numbers, except we can't do it in a positive manner. Right now it's only adding restrictions instead of alleviating them, but that is the great first step into moving into further modding. We were able to create the first mod that realistically runs without GVK's interface at all, and of course finally Weiss rocket could potentially be back. So I just wanted to put in this update, get it out there, give full context about these developments, since all of these developments happened back to back to back, and if you probably missed one of my Discord messages, you might have not heard about one or multiple of these. I wanted to provide some information to the community about what went down these past 48 hours. Thank you, everyone. I'll keep you updated if there's any major developments, and continue enjoying Grimm Eclipse. I hope you all have a good day. Have a good one.